again.
So what'd you think of the new Spider-Man trailer?
I need that movie like right now.
I'm
There,
in a group chat right now that I had to turn off my phone because it's going as like all these theories about the Sinister Six and whether or not that's actually Doctor Strange.
yeah, I've heard those too. To me, could I see him being maybe a scroll? Sure, but who knows? A small part of me was wanting there to not be a trailer at all. Like I wanted to go in completely cold, but once they released it, I was like, I'll watch it.
Yeah, I've been waiting on that trailer, man.
And the thing is, people are pissed that Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield weren't in it. But like to me, that should be saved for the movie
Yeah, yeah.
if it's true.
I
Which I
don't want to see. I want to be surprised by that.
yeah. Let's see. Derek returns to review Crash Bandicoot Warped for the PlayStation.
So you're here next week too, right?
So I'll be back next week. Then I'll be off again the following week because that's our last series of the
Okay.
season.
And then I'll
And
have to
then,
get somebody to fill in for that week. All right. I was gonna see. I was gonna do the drawing tonight for our prize pack, but I figure that's a lot for you. You know, you're coming back in after like a month of not being here, so we'll just do that next week.
well, and I also got to figure out because like I don't have anything signed by like the cast or crew other than one copy of the script
Okay.
that I brought to shooting day. So what I might have to do is just message everybody and be like, "Hey, who all can I get, signatures from?" Because I got the rest of the week off and I've got Saturday
Okay.
as well, like during the day to possibly do
Well, I
something.
mean,
So
if we got to push it back again, we can. I mean, it's just one of those things that we're not gonna forget to do it. It's just got to find the right time to do it.
yeah, let's see. All right, that is shared onto Facebook. So let me share it on my personal page. It has been nice to like actually feel like a person again.
I bet. Holy crap! I bet you made some good money though.
Would you like to know the amount of overtime I locked in over these last 2 weeks?
I'd say probably at least 100 hours of overtime.
For this specific pay period, I got 42.
That's just
Because
overtime, right?
correct. No, the amount of hours I worked was like 115.
Dude, that's ridiculous, man.
Yeah.
Like, how are you even functioning right now? I would be dead.
Part of me is just because I'm conditioned to it because that's how the season. I mean, this season has been unusually busy,
Yeah.
and part of it is because of the lack of help we've had due to COVID not being able to bring in as many people and whatnot. And then I'll explain the whole story once we start the show because it's been a wacky month.
Dude, like, this past weekend was the first weekend I've had off, like, completely with nothing to do in like 3 months. And what do? I volunteered to go to work on Saturday. So I went and worked 4 hours of overtime on Saturday and I was ready to murder somebody. So I can't imagine like 40 something hours of overtime. I would be on a murderous rampage right now.
That's why I'm taking this week off and not having anything to do with work.
I
I
don't
said if
blame you.
it's like a absolute emergency that no one else can handle, let me know.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I got my own shit I have to do.
Uh,
Well, it's like I haven't really done laundry in like 2 weeks.
ugh. Oh my God, 2 weeks. God, it would take me all day to do laundry if I waited 2 weeks.
Yeah, that's I haven't. Well, I did it last Saturday, but I've got I gotta do another load.
You're to
Either
the point
tomorrow
where
or Friday.
you're eyeing your underwear and like, well, maybe I can just turn them around, like put them
Oh,
inside out.
God, no, no.
Maybe I could just buy some new underwear and get a couple more days.
Uh, oh man.
All right, well, I'm good to go if you are.
Yep, I got all the tabs open and everything, so I'm all set.
All right, here we
We'll
go.
see if I remember how to do this.
Oh yeah, me too. I took last week off, so here we go. In 3, 2, 1. Greetings, programs, and welcome back to another episode of the Nerd Cave Retro Show. My name is Jason Robbins.
And my name's Derek Diamond.
Woo! It's about time.
I know. I thought you were gonna send me my pink slip in the mail.
Man, how long has it been? It's been like a month.
It has been a month. I think, yeah, it's been maybe a month and change. The last show I did was, I think, right around the middle of July. So and here we are already approaching the end of August.
Yeah.
And yeah, finally back. It's been a wacky and crazy month.
But just so everybody knows, like the summertime's always kind of weird because of Derek's job situation. Which tell everybody that people that don't know, like what happens, like who you work for and what happens in the summertime.
So I work for the Pensacola Blue Wahoos, which is a minor league baseball team we have here in town. And the season usually runs between early April to the end of August. And on weeks that we have games, I have to work them. And those coincide with days that we do the show. So I do want to give a shout out to Jacob, Wally, Joey, Stephanie, everyone that you filled in for me really over this past summer and has kept the show going, because I know we've had to, in years past, we've recorded on like Sundays, we've recorded on Mondays, so we could still have a show for that week, or we might do 2 shows in one day. But this year has been unusually odd because, you know, due to COVID, we weren't able to have as much help around the office as we've had in the past. And specifically late July to now. So we had a homestand at the end of July. It turns out that my supervisor and our intern both get COVID. So I work, you know, still have like the game day staff come in, like directors, camera operators, and people like that to still come in and work the games. But as far as the actual prep, I had to do everything on my own. The downside to that was also the Quinn Studer, who owns the Blue Wahoos, also owns a team in Wisconsin called the Beloit Snappers. And they moved into a new stadium in early August, which my supervisor was supposed to go and help, you know, like make sure the video board was working and everything. It's all new equipment, all new stadium, everything. Well, between him having COVID and his wife having their second child in early to mid-August, he didn't feel comfortable going. So I went in his place. So I worked the homestand. Then the day after, flew to Wisconsin, worked 3 games, flew back Friday, had the weekend to recoup, and then worked 12 Blue Wahoos games in 13 days.
Jeez.
Well, I'll put an asterisk by that. So I had my birthday was the 18th, and I was able to have that game off and the one after. I still worked during the day, but having the games off were nice. But still, for the most part, it's been nonstop work, especially these last few weeks. And if those who also listen to the Derek Diamond Experience, you know, I haven't done a traditional show in like 2 to 3 weeks because I didn't have anything in the can, and I just haven't had time to do anything.
Yeah. It's just, man, it's a weird year because, like you said, because of COVID and everything. It's just everything is so out of whack. I mean, not just your job, but just everywhere. Like everywhere is just so out of whack. Like I don't understand like how we're going to get back to normal at this point because everything is just bonkers.
It's not going to be for a while. I'm convinced that things won't be normal until maybe like 2023 or
Probably.
2024, if I had to guess.
Yeah, I'm gonna say it's gonna be at least another 2 years before everything evens out, gets back to normal. And even if
Yeah.
they, and it's like, especially just like fast food places, like the grocery store. Like, I went to Walmart a couple of weeks ago just to get groceries, and there was nobody working there. I went in there, got groceries. They had maybe two people working, like the self checkouts. They have like one person working the self checkouts. They have one at each one, and that was it. I didn't see anybody else in there. I'm like, does anybody work in here right now? And so it's like an empty ass store with just like, I wonder if I could just walk out with this thing of groceries right now, and like, would anyone stop me?
Probably not.
Probably
If
not.
there's no one in the store, then no one can really stop you. But no, I noticed the same thing. I went to Walmart the other day, and there were a couple of actual like checkout lines open, but for the most part, it was one self checkout at one end of the store and another on the other side. It's been a very wild year, and it's there's usually things that happen with my job specifically that I won't say that I have to fight, but there are usually like problem solving things and other stuff that pops up. But this year has just been absolutely insane. And to as a programming note for everyone, so there's one homestand left in the season, and that is in early September. So I'm back on the show tonight. I'll be back on next week. Then the following week after that is the last homestand of the season. So I'll be off that week, but then after that, things should be back to normal. I'll be back on the show every week. So
good.
Again, I want to thank Jacob, despite your dislike for the Sonic the Hedgehog movie. Joey Image, I thought the show that you guys did about Blizzard was that really hit me. That hit me. I listened to it on the flight, on the way back home.
Yeah, I was a heavy show to do. Like, it affected me a lot. Like, I was really affected by that show the next, few days afterwards. It took me a while to get kind of back to, like, get my brain right.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And of course, Wally and others that filled in as well. I really appreciate it. So, but I'm very happy to be back. It's good to get back to some stretch of normalcy where I actually have time to myself and do this show, do my show. I think because we're doing this on a Wednesday, I've done 4 interviews now for my show, and I've got a couple of more planned for later in the week. So
nice.
We'll have.
I forgot. I don't know if we push this. I forgot. I don't know if I did last week, but Derek on his Patreon started doing watch-alongs as well, kind of like what we do here for our Patreon. And me, him, and Wally did Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the 1990 movie, and he released a few weeks ago. And I listened to it afterwards when you dropped it, and I was like, man, this is fun to listen to. Even if you're not watching the movie, it's still fun to listen to.
Well, the three of us, we always have fun banter, regardless of what we do. But that was such a fun show to do, and we both share the same love for that movie. So,
and to be honest, I've seen that movie so many times that listening to it, I knew exactly what was happening as I was listening to it.
To be perfectly honest, I probably could have started the movie and maybe like a minute in just stopped watching, and I could have played the whole thing through in my head.
Me too. It's like that with the original Batman, that movie, probably, A New Hope. I could, like, the first, the original Star Wars trilogy, I could definitely do that. Like, I don't even need to watch the movie to do a commentary track for it. I know exactly what happens when.
I do want to do the Tim Burton Batman. I want to do a watch along for that.
Oh yeah,
sometime soon. Because especially with Keaton coming back,
yes,
and the Flash coming out next year, that's one I definitely want to go back and revisit.
So this coming Monday night, we're gonna be recording this month's commentary track for Nerd Cave Retro, and I put the poll up on the Patreon a few weeks ago, and Big Trouble in Little China won by one vote. So we get to do Derek's pick for the month, and I'm excited. I'm excited to watch that movie with you guys because I love John Carpenter. I love that movie. Any John Carpenter movie you guys want to do, I'm totally in. But that's one of my favorite John Carpenter movies.
Yes, sir. The check's in the mail.
The check is in the mail. And now for something we haven't done together in a while. You want to do the news?
Let's do it.
This one came to us from Armez Jackson, one of our listeners, and this is from NintendoLife.com. Quake is getting a remaster, and it dropped on the Switch. This article came out last week. It dropped on Thursday of last week, I think. QuakeCon is having some reveals leaked ahead of time, with the latest seemingly emerging via an ESRB listing, an entry simply called Quake, including the Switch as a platform. Let's see. It was a major release from id Software in 1996 that followed on from the success of the original Doom, in some respects providing another notable advance in the company's technology and design. It is also renowned and still much loved to this day for the way it revolutionized and introduced varied and fun multiplayer options, including support for the very early days of online play. And I just saw on Steam that the QuakeCon is happening, and there's this huge thing you can get on Steam right now with like Quake, and it's got a bunch of I think Doom on there, the Doom 2016 Doom. I think the newer Doom is on there. But yeah, it's like Quake dropped last week, and I didn't even know they were doing a remake of or a remaster. I played the crap out of Quake back in the day. Did you ever play Quake?
I did not. I do remember the game very vividly. I remember hearing about it. I remember watching some gameplay of it, but it was one that I was more of a watcher than a player.
Yeah.
I want to throw this out there, though. I feel like, because I see they did a Quake Con. Is there now a con for everything?
I think so.
There's Games Con, there's Cinema Con, Quake Con. There needs to be a Nerd Cave Retro Con.
Yeah, no kidding. We're gonna do that. Pensacon this year. We're gonna have
the con within a con.
Yeah, the con within a con.
Conception. I love it.
Yeah.
My favorite part of this entire article is the update. It just simply says it's out now.
Yeah. So like I said, this article came out last week, but yeah, I saw when it dropped. Yeah, I think it was last Thursday that it dropped. Thursday or Friday that it dropped. And I was like, holy crap, I have to get this.
I'd be interested in trying it because like games like that from that era, I never really physically played.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd love to check it out.
It would be fun to do some, not necessarily LAN parties, but if we could, do some online play together, that would be really fun.
Oh, for sure. That would be great. But our next story also comes to us from Armez Jackson and also from NintendoLife.com. WayForward's Blood Rain Betrayal Fresh Bites sinks its teeth into Switch next month. Back in June, thanks to the Limited Run Games E3 broadcast, we learned that WayForward and publisher Ziggurat Interactive have been working on an updated version of Blood Rain Betrayal, a 2011 hack-and-slash performer that skipped Nintendo systems at the time. The new version is called Blood Rain Betrayal Fresh Bites, and we now have a confirmed release date. The game will be launching on Switch as well as PC, PS4 and 5, and Xbox on the 9th of September. Joining original developer WayForward for the remake are members of the original voice cast, including The Last of Us Part 2 stars Laura Bailey, who voices Rain, and Troy Baker, who voices Kagan. You'll be able to pick up digitally across all platforms, but PlayStation and Switch owners will also be able to grab a physical release through Limited Run Games, and it includes all new voice acting, an enhanced edition, advanced controller support, a modern console release, and physical edition for PS4 and 5 and Nintendo Switch. It looks pretty cool. I never played any of the Blood Rain games. I don't know about you, but the style in which this game looks is pretty sweet.
Yeah, it's kind of, to me, it's got kind of that Castlevania look to it.
Yeah.
The PS era Castlevania game, the PlayStation era of the Castlevania games. I've never played the Blood Rain games, but it looks pretty interesting. I mean, I'd like to give it a try. Hopefully, they'll have maybe like a demo or something I can play to see if it's something that I would want to purchase.
The style of game looks really cool, and it looks like something that would be up my alley. I'm with you. I never played the Blood Rain games. When I think of Blood Rain, I think of that god awful movie
Oh God,
adaptation of it.
Yui Bowl.
Oh, you want to talk about something I should throw in defending bad movies?
Oh, we could do a
Is
whole
that
panel just off of his movies.
ooh, that's actually not a bad idea.
Every single one of his movies is awful.
Defending Yui Bowl
Yeah,
movies.
defending. Is it Yui or is it Uwe? I've heard it both ways.
I
Does
have
it
no
matter?
idea.
I mean,
No.
I don't think it matters.
Whatever is the correct pronunciation, we should do the opposite.
My friend Pete, he still gives me shit to this day for making him go to the theater with me to watch House of the Dead. He brought it up again the other day. Like he's never going to let me live it down that I made him go to the theater to watch House of the Dead. I'm
He'll
sorry.
probably
Pete.
say he'll probably do that on his deathbed. He'll just be like, "You took me to see House of the Dead," and then
He
boom,
did say
gone.
something like that. I don't think he's because we were talking about our funerals. And he said something like he's going to go to my funeral and tell everybody that I was an asshole because I made him go to the theater to watch House of the Dead. Yeah, it was way far back. I don't think I'm going to be able to find it. But it was something along those lines. I was like, dude, go for it. If that was what's going to make you feel better after I'm dead is to stand over my cold corpse and tell everybody that I was awful because I made you watch an Uwe Boll movie.
He should leave you just a copy of the movie
Yeah, just put a
on your
copy of the
tombstone.
movie in the casket with me.
in the casket.
Uh,
Oh man.
this next story is from Nintendo Life. I don't know if you heard about this last week, but Grant the Rockstar had rumored that they were going to be remastering the original Grand Theft Auto games like Vice City,
Yeah.
San Andreas, and this is from NintendoLife.com. Last week, rumors surfaced online about Rockstar Dundee remastering the Grand Theft Auto Trilogy for multiple platforms, including Nintendo Switch. The original Kotaku story said there was a possibility of these games arriving as early as October or November this year, but new information provided by reputable Call of Duty and Battlefield leaker Tom Henderson claims the trilogy remaster won't show up until next year. He said, I wasn't going to mention the GTA remaster trilogy because everything I've heard has been covered. The only difference is that I don't believe the launch time frame is correct, sometime in 2022. Apart from Henderson, VGC's Andy Robinson has also backed up the original Kotaku report about a remaster of the GTA trilogy over the past week. He said the report corroborates information VGC has recently received from its own sources, which also suggested the remasters were in development. According to Kotaku's original story, the remaster trilogy will run on the Unreal Engine and will be a mix of new and old graphics. I would be okay with that, being able to switch back and forth between the original graphics and like updated new graphics. Because I'll tell you, San Andreas, I loved San Andreas. I played that on the original Xbox, and I was addicted to that game for months. And if I could play that again with new updated graphics, please sign me up.
I feel that way about Vice City.
See, I never played Vice City.
Oh man. I'm not a huge Grand Theft Auto fan. Like I don't dislike the franchise. I just never got into it.
Yeah.
Except for Vice City. I played the hell out of some Vice City. And part of it was the 80s setting with the soundtrack and driving around Vice City listening to like Hall and Oates
Yeah.
and other bands from the 80s. And like I remember they actually released soundtracks from Vice City, and I had all of them. Because like I grew up listening to music from that era, so it just sucked me in, and
Yeah.
the game itself was a lot of fun. Like if with this remastered trilogy, like that would be the one that I would instantly gravitate to.
And that's one of the ones that I wish I could go back and play. So if they release this, I'm definitely getting this.
100%. 100%. Let's see. Our next story comes to us from NME.com. Sega renews trademark on trio of obscure Mega Drive and Saturn games. Sega has renewed its trademarks on a trio of classic titles that originally saw release on the Mega Drive, aka Sega Genesis, and its successor, the Saturn. The trademarks are for 1993's Ranger X, 95's Crusader of Sinti, and 1996's Linkle Liver Story, retained by Sega. All three games were developed by Nextech, a now defunct Japanese studio bought by Sega in 1997. While the three games aren't exactly household names, in particular Linkle Liver Story, which I love that title, never saw release outside of Japan, they may be memorable to older players. Ranger X was a run and gun shooter with the player piloting a giant robot and attempting to liberate their home planet from the attacking Rahuna. Crusader of Sinti, meanwhile, is sometimes referred to as Sega's attempt to take on The Legend of Zelda. Played from a similar top-down perspective as classic Zelda games, Sinti followed a 14-year-old Corona who must take up the sword of his late father to defend humanity from a horde of monsters. And then, let's see, Linkle Liver Story only saw release on the Saturn in Japan and was an action-adventure game where the protagonist, Quiche, an anthropomorphic fox girl, teamed with other forest creatures to save their world from dark forces.
Now, the only ones of these that I've ever heard of was Crusader of Sinti, and I watched a YouTube video about this game not too long ago and got me interested in it because, like it says, it was Sega's attempt at The Legend of Zelda. So I watched a video, I can't remember who it was, it might have been Friday Night Arcade did a video about it, or somebody like that. But it's a lot like Link to the Past. So I would be very interested in playing this if they if they remastered it and put it on the Switch. That would be a day one purchase for me.
Yeah, I mean, you're gonna get me with saying that it's like The Legend of Zelda. So
I mean, it looks almost exactly like Legend. It plays like Legend of Zelda, Link to the Past. I mean, it's almost like cut and paste Legend of Zelda, but for the Sega.
You know, I was actually thinking not too long ago that, you know, yes, Sonic was like Sega's attempt to make a mascot on the level of a Mario.
Mm-hmm.
The gameplay was different, but you get what I mean. But I remember, and maybe it was because I wasn't as well versed in the Genesis, I never remembered them doing a Legend of Zelda type game. So it's cool to hear that they actually did.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it looks cool. I would suggest going on YouTube and looking up some videos about it because it does look really fun to play and something that I think I could sink my teeth into if they did a remake of it.
Yeah, for sure.
This next story comes from I Am the Rampage, and I was wondering if somebody was going to drop this because I was going to actually paste this in before the show, and I saw you put this in our email at nerdcaveretro@gmail.com if you guys have any questions or comments or news stories you want to drop for us. This is from digitaltrends.com. That $2 million Super Mario Brothers auction may have been rigged. Dun, dun, dun.
You don't say.
There's actually a video about this by our good friend Nate, Retro Gaming Dev, which you can go watch. I retweeted it from the Nerd Cave Retro Twitter, so if you'd like to go check out that video, go head over there and follow the link. Complete inbox retro games have been in the news a lot lately due to their sale prices rising. The most famous recent example is a copy of Super Mario Brothers for the NES selling for $2 million. In a video investigation, journalist Carl Jobst claims that the grading company Wata Games and the auction company Heritage Auctions behind these sales are artificially raising the value. You think? Wata is behind the grading of previously mentioned $2 million Super Mario Brothers, a $1.56 million Super Mario 64, a $156,000 Super Mario Brothers 3, and more. Jobst, that's a hard last name to say. Jobst states that Wata's president and CEO Denise Kahn and Heritage's co-founder Jim Halprin have been working together to manipulate the market and cause retro game prices to artificially rise.
He brings up the previous record holder in the video games world, a copy of Super Mario Brothers that was graded by Wata and sold for $100 to $150. He notes this copy was allegedly bought by Halpern, game collector Reach Leche, and Just Press Play founder Zach Grieg or Geeg. But blah 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 goes through all this stuff. And in a statement sent to Digital Trends, Wata Games disputed Joe's claims. Wata Games is the trusted leader in collectible video game grading, and we're honored to play a key role in a booming industry that we are incredibly passionate about. Blah 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 blah. Boilerplate statement. We're not dirty, but basically, you go watch the videos, and we all know what's happening here. This is all getting inflated, and a lot of people who don't know anything about this stuff are going to come in, dump a ton of money. They're going to make a lot of money, and then they're going to get out. And then all these people who are investing all this money thinking they're going to get rich, people like us who don't have a lot of money, are going to drop a ton of money on these games that are going to crash and burn probably in the next year or two, and they're going to lose a ton of money. It's going to happen. It's going to happen.
Well, let's be honest, and I know you've talked about it, while I've been gone, but and even the stories, we talked about too, with these games going for crazy money, and we've gotten to the point now where it's like, this is just stupid.
Yeah.
It's absolutely stupid that you would spend, because I can imagine a copy of Super Mario Brothers can't be that difficult to find.
Yeah, exactly.
And you're paying just an ungodly amount of money for it. And why? My question has been why.
That's you hit the nail on the head that, like a copy of Super Mario Brothers. This isn't even a first print Super Mario Brothers. This is like 1987, I think, like a fourth run of the game. Like there's probably dozens of these that are still sealed in the package, from anything from, a crate being lost in a warehouse somewhere, or somebody having a box of these that, they picked up off a truck somewhere. There's got to be dozens of these things out in the world, especially the Super Mario 64. Really? Like, that game is not worth $1.5 million sealed. I guarantee you there's probably 10 people listening to this show right now, at least, that have a sealed copy of that game. Like, that game's barely 20 years old at this point, 25 years old. And the things that should be worth that amount of money, like you look at things like that game, actual game collectors like us want, like a gold Nintendo World Championship cart. There's only like 30 of those in existence, and only like 15 of them are accounted for. Yeah, those are worth $75,000 a piece. Super Mario 64 sealed straight out of a crate? No, that game is worth $200-$300 tops.
People just have way too much money.
Yeah, and
or some people just have way too much money. I don't know. That's what I want to know. Where are people getting this money?
I don't know. Please,
maybe we don't want to know.
Maybe we suggest patreon.com/nerdcaveretro and give us some of that cheese, and we'll stop you. We will stop you from wasting your money on dumb shit like a sealed Super Mario 64 for $1.5 million.
I just had an idea for a commercial for Patreon.
What?
This is going to sound really bad, but those commercials they play with like all the sad pets and everything, they try to get you to adopt a pet. Do the same thing, but with these video games.
Yeah.
Like don't spend your hard-earned money on games that you can find at your local retro gaming store. Give it to people who really need it, who really matter.
Yeah.
Head over to patreon.com/nerdcaveretro.
I mean, it's like this right here. I'm so happy that I have this copy. Anybody watching on video right now, I'm holding up a copy of Super Mario Brothers 3, and it's the variant cover where Bros is over the hand and not above his hat. I'm never going to sell this because I picked this up for $40 when I was in New Jersey. This I could probably turn around, even ungraded. I could probably sell this for $300-$400 right now. graded, I could probably get over $1,000 for it. Never going to do that. This should be something that's worth, 10 grand probably, because there aren't very many of these out there. I'm just going to,
Exactly.
if I say it once, I say it 1,000 times. Super Mario 64, there's probably hundreds of those out there that are still sealed in perfect condition. Same with the Super Mario Brothers. Like that's a think a third or fourth run print. And if there's one, there's more. I guarantee you.
Yep.
Those things don't just fall out of the sky.
Oh, man. But our last story also comes to us from I Am the Rampage.
Rampage!
From Gizmodo.com. Child-sized arcade cabinets let you force your favorite retro games on your kids. And man, I wish these things existed when I was a kid, because I would have ate these up. Tired of your kids wasting hours on games like Fortnite and PUBG? Arcade 1UP is introducing a new line of extra small stand-up arcade cabinets, letting kids as young as 4 years old experience the joy of retro games, minus the endless frustration thanks to updates like super easy modes and infinite lives. Arcade 1UP scaled-down arcade cabinets usually stand about 5 feet tall, allowing most adults to comfortably play them while minimizing the cabinet's footprint so it's easier to fill a room. The new junior cabinets are much smaller than that, standing just 36 inches tall and are targeted at kids aged 4 to 8, but your mileage will vary depending on growth spurts. Officially available starting October 15th, the cabinet features an 8-inch LCD screen paired with larger buttons and a giant ball-topped 8-way joystick designed to make playing games like Pac-Man, Galaga, and Dig Dug easier for kids who have likely grown up playing games exclusively on a touchscreen or console gamepad. And the stool is included, by the way, if you look at the article.
That's for the adult that wants to sit and play it.
Yeah. This is really freaking cool. Oh, and they're $280 a pop.
That's not bad, actually. I mean, that's the price of a console.
Yeah. Man, if these were out when I was a kid, like, this would have been what I asked for Christmas.
Me too. That Pac-Man machine is gorgeous.
It is. It really is. I saw an adult-sized one at Best Buy today when I just went browsing.
Yeah, I saw one on clearance at Best Buy the other day, Pac-Man machine, and it took everything I had to walk out of that store and not buy it, because I love Pac-Man in the arcade. Like, I mean, I have a Pac-Man thing back here now behind me. Yeah. Like, I love Pac-Man. I would love to have the arcade 1UP Pac-Man machine. I just don't have room for it.
Yeah, I don't know where I would put an arcade machine if I had one. I mean, my dream one day is to own a legitimate, or one of my dreams, I should say, not just one, but have like an actual working Ninja Turtles arcade machine.
Yeah. My dream is to have that sit-down cocktail Miss Pac-Man machine.
Yeah.
I want one.
That would be a good
so
one
bad.
too.
Used to have one at the pizza restaurant I worked at as a teenager. The same place that we had the Mortal Kombat 2 machine. But right in the middle of the restaurant, there was a sit-down cocktail Miss Pac-Man machine. Oh, man, I used to play that thing every single day. That's where most of my paycheck went, was playing Mortal Kombat 2 and Miss Pac-Man on my breaks at work.
I mean, there are worse things you could spend your money on.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
You ready to go into this month in video game history?
Yes,
Knock
sir.
that one out. On August 6th of 1986, Nintendo releases Metroid by Makoto Kano, the first in the Metroid series. I mean, who hasn't heard or played Metroid before?
I threw this in there because I can't remember if you've talked about it or not, but Metroid is now 35 years old.
Don't remind me.
Which is crazy. I mean, the same thing happened with Zelda. So, yeah, I mean, Metroid. Funny enough, I was going through a lot of my my old belongings because I'm kind of revamping how my studio looks and everything, and I found this portrait, or a drawing, I should say, of Samus as styled in Metroid Prime that I bought at a convention back in
Oh,
2013.
wow.
That I have to send you a picture of it, but it looks really cool. Like it's one that I want to eventually, get framed and possibly hang up in here. But Metroid, I think, still hasn't really gotten the credit that it deserves as far as being one of those iconic Nintendo franchises. Because you know, outside of Metroid Prime, I feel like that franchise hasn't been as relevant
Well,
in the
because
last
Nintendo doesn't give it the
30
love
years.
that it needs.
No, you're right.
I
You're right. I
mean,
mean, I know we have I can't remember the name of it, but we have a Metroid game coming.
yeah, and I'm really
But
excited for that.
yeah, I am too. I do wish they would make another first person shooter
Yeah.
type Metroid
And
because I thought it transitioned very well.
they need to make it dark and scary and what Metroid needs to be.
And then do a Metroid movie.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
Hey, Katie Sackhoff already says she wants to be Samus Aran. I'm okay with that.
Yeah. Yeah, I think she'd be good. On August 29th, 1989, NEC's PC Engine released in North America as the TurboGrafx 16, and I forgot about that until I, was coming up with everything to post in our Google Doc, and I was like, "Holy crap, I forgot about that."
Yeah, I can't believe the TurboGrafx 16 came out in '89. I could have swore it was like '91 when it came out, like right around the time of the Super Nintendo.
Yeah, for some reason I thought it was farther back than that. I was thinking like 87.
Yeah, no, I don't know.
But I mean the fact that, it's 16-bit
And shout out to
makes sense.
Axblade07 who sent us that TurboGrafx 16 Mini last year.
Yeah, I need to break that out again and play some games from it because I've been dabbling into several games, but I haven't really been extensively playing one other than what I'm reviewing tonight. But like I've been playing a little bit of Skyward Sword, a little bit of Kirby's Dream Land 3. So the TurboGrafx 16 I need to dive back into.
Yeah. Let's see. August 23rd of 1991, Nintendo releases Super Mario World and F-Zero along with the Super Nintendo Entertainment System in North America. Super Mario World was the original pack-in game for the SNES. The game introduces Yoshi to the Mario series. Oh man, that's one of my greatest gaming memories is that Christmas. Oh, like I know I've told this story before on this show. I got Final Fight and F-Zero the night before Christmas because we did Christmas at my grandma's house on Christmas Eve and got presents there. And then, of course, opened my parents' presents on Christmas morning. So my grandparents got me Final Fight and F-Zero for the Super Nintendo. And I guess they were okay with me, like getting spoiled on what I was getting for Christmas Day because I was just, oh my God, I could not sleep that night waiting for Christmas morning to come so I could open the Super Nintendo.
Yeah, I got the Super Nintendo as a late birthday gift. And I remember opening it and just instantly plugging in Mario World and just being blown away by how bright and colorful everything was. I thought the addition of Yoshi was great. I just remember like wasting no time in plugging it in and playing it. Like it was, and it's still to this day my favorite video game console of all time because when I think of most of my fond video game memories from my childhood, they usually involve the Super Nintendo.
Yeah.
Mario World, Link to the Past, all the great RPGs that came out for it. And it's crazy to think that, this system is now 30 years old.
I know. And there's no greater sound in video games than when you turn on hit the power button on the Super Nintendo and you've got Super Mario World in there and you hear that ba-ding.
Yep.
Like that's the most iconic video game sound of all time to me.
I recently did another playthrough of Mario World and same thing when I heard that ding and then the dun, 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 dun. I was like, man, it took me back to sitting in the living room, at the first house I lived in playing Mario World.
Instantly, just a kid again. Like every time I hear it, it brings me back to that Christmas morning.
Yep,
every time.
absolutely. On August 2nd of 1994, Shiny Entertainment releases Earthworm Jim. I need to play the sequel
That game is
to
so
this
hard.
game. It is. Like, don't get me wrong, I love that universe. I love how crazy and wacky it is. But man, that game is hard. I've never played the sequel. Eventually, I'm going to. But if it's anything like the first one, I will probably have a beverage with me.
Yeah, I remember I rented the first one for the Super Nintendo, and it was one of those controller throwing experiences. Like, it's so
Yep.
hard. Like, it's punishing. That game is punishingly hard.
Yep.
August 2nd of 1995, SMD releases Comic Zone for the Sega Genesis, beat 'em up game heavily inspired by comic books. I did a review of this a few months back, and you can go back and listen to that episode. I like that game a lot. My only problem is you get one life, and that's it.
It's like real life.
You got to try to beat that game in one life.
Visually, it's a cool looking game, though. I haven't played it yet, but it looks fun despite only
Yeah.
having one life. And it just looks like a universe that I would just like dive headfirst
And
into and love.
It's such a cool concept that's never been done again. It's like you're actually playing a comic book because you're going panel by panel. And it's such a good game. I really wish they would give me that same version of the game, like a remaster of it. I don't even need a remaster. Just give me that game again, but give me multiple lives or some kind of a cheat code for infinite lives, because there's no cheat codes for that game. I tried to look up cheat codes. There's none.
The ultimate troll job.
Yeah.
On August 25th, 1997, Rare releases GoldenEye 007 for the N64. Not just one of the best N64 games, one of the best video games of all time.
Did
And I will
you?
say that because it has one of the best multiplayers, probably outside of Halo, my
Oh,
favorite
yeah.
multiplayer game to play.
A lot of fun playing that game. A lot of good memories playing that game. Did you see the tweet that I retweeted today? The caption I put on it was, "If I can't unsee it now, neither can you." And I never noticed this until now. Go look at the box art for GoldenEye for N64, and look at Pierce Brosnan's face, and tell me what's wrong with it. You can't, once you see it, you can't unsee it.
Let's see. Let me pull it up here.
You're going to see it.
Uh,
All right, take a good close look at Pierce Brosnan's face.
I'm doing like a. Oh, it's not letting me zoom in. Come on.
All right, if you look closely, you'll see that he's holding the gun kind of right here in front of his face, and they photoshopped this part of his face over, so it looks like his face does this, and it like goes way out here, and then it comes back in.
Oh my God, you're right.
You can't, like, who did that? How did that get passed? How did that get approved?
Shit.
I never noticed it until now.
Out of all the times I've played this game, I've never noticed that before.
You can't, now you see it, you can't unsee it.
Ah, man.
It's so weird.
That's well. Despite that, it is one of the best video games
Yeah.
ever made.
I'll agree.
Maybe not so great a job on the cover art, but
Yeah.
but not everything's perfect.
For our last two, in August of 2000, Ubisoft acquires Red Storm Entertainment, most famously known for developing the Tom Clancy series. I never played too many of the. I did play I think, whatever Splinter Cell was on the original Xbox, I played for a little while, but I'm not a fan of stealth games.
Yeah, I remember the Tom Clancy games being advertised a lot on TV,
Mm-hmm.
but I was just never drawn to them.
Yeah.
So I never really knew anybody that played them either. I mean,
Yeah.
they were popular, but like I personally never knew anybody who played them.
Yeah, it was that the Splinter Cell game that I played was fun for a little while, but the whole stealth genre of gameplay is just not my bag. I'm not like even like with playing like World of Warcraft, like I could never play like a rogue or anything that
Yeah.
requires stealth because I'm more of a like a thing or a Hulk style player where I'm just like run and smash like that kind of a player. I don't have stealth in me at all.
So you're similar to Leroy Jenkins.
Yeah, I'm a Leroy Jenkins all the time. No matter what kind of game it is, I'm just gonna run in. If I die, I die. That kind of thing.
That's fantastic. To close us out for this month in video game history, on August 28th, 2000, Mario Tennis is released for the N64 in North America. And the reason why this game is pretty notable is that it featured the debut of a cult favorite character in the Mario universe, Waluigi.
Waluigi.
Waluigi, and to this day, he is still one of the most popular character requests for the Smash Brothers series.
Oh yeah, they still haven't put him in Smash Brothers.
He's an assist trophy, but he's not an actual like
Wow.
playable character. So
Well, it's been a while since we've done this month in video game history, and now what we usually do is I let Derek do the shout outs.
yeah, so as always, I'd like to shout out our awesome patrons over at patreon.com/nerdcaveretro. We want to shout out Xblade07, Daniel Salmon, John Jekyll, aka Mixmaster, Hand Solo, Carlos Longoria, Staff Sergeant Sketch, Tyler Watson, Brandon Rutledge, Gus and Penny, Matthew Salmon, Randy Bailey, Joey Image, and Ron Johnson. Thank you all so much for your continued contributions to the show. And as Jason mentioned, we'll be doing our commentary track that you, the Patreon subscribers, voted for. We'll be watching Big Trouble in Little China. I like when the Patreon subscribers vote on what we do. It just takes the choice completely out of our hands.
It's all in the reflexes.
Yeah, so because otherwise, like, I would just make really horrible choices that Jason and Wally wouldn't want to do. So, yeah,
I already
if you
made you
able
guys watch one horrible movie you guys will never forgive me for. So,
but despite how bad the movies are, I still have a blast doing the commentary tracks. Sometimes the worst movies make for the best commentary tracks.
hell, I like doing the single episode stuff that we do too.
Yeah,
Those are always fun.
we got to throw in some original Ninja Turtles animated series.
I know
for that.
And I want to torture Wally with a Silverhawks.
Oh man. But if you want to be a part of our awesome community, just head over to patreon.com/DDiamondPodcast. And for new patrons, just send us your social media, either on Twitter, Facebook, or email, so we can give you a proper shout out.
And tonight Derek's talking about dig the music for this game, even though I've never played it before.
Yeah, the music from the Crash Bandicoot games is pretty underrated. I've found myself, like when the remastered edition came out a couple of years ago, someone or like multiple YouTube channels posted the full soundtrack.
Yeah.
And I would go through and just listen because I wanted to hear how each track sounded compared to the original. And some of them are better, but the music and that encompasses all the Crash Bandicoot games
definitely has that late 90s,
good.
Early 2000s video game music feel to it. Like it's very jaunty and just like, very like islandy. If that makes sense.
Absolutely. Yeah, so the game I'm reviewing tonight is, I guess, closing out the Crash Bandicoot trilogy with Crash Bandicoot Warped. Is a 1998 platform game developed by Naughty Dog and published by Sony Computer Entertainment for the PlayStation. It's the third game in the Crash Bandicoot series following Crash Bandicoot 2 Cortex Strikes Back, which I think I've briefly explained a little bit of my knowledge and history of Crash Bandicoot. many years ago when I was a kid, we had a hurricane hit here named Hurricane Aaron that wiped out power through most of the town that I lived in. My uncle's house, which was not too far from me, had power. So I went to stay with him for a couple of nights. And I remember he had a PlayStation. I did not have one of those. And he had a copy of Crash Bandicoot 2. And that was my introduction to that series. And then I played Warped. I didn't go back and play the first one until years later, but the sequels stood out to me more so than the original because, as I've talked about numerous times on the show, I love when sequels take the foundation that was laid by the original and they add new elements to it that just give it kind of a fresh feel. You know, that it's not exactly the same thing as the previous one.
Yeah.
Well, that happened with 2, and the same thing definitely happens with the third one because you actually get things like there are new things for you to collect. So the primary objective of the game, it takes place immediately after the second game, after you destroy Dr. Neo Cortex, who's the primary villain of the series. You destroy his space station, and he, along with the station, crash to Earth. Well, the station crashes into this ancient temple, which releases the evil entity known as Uka Uka, who's the twin brother of the mask that helps you, throughout the game, Aku Aku. And he's basically, you find out he's been the mastermind behind everything. Like Cortex has been working for him since the very beginning. The crystals that you collect, as well as the gems that you collect through the different worlds in the second game, are lost. So Uka Uka's solution is he enlists the help of Dr. Nefarious Tropy to build a time machine where they can go to different points in history and recollect the crystals and the gems so that they have them for themselves to harness their power and take over the world. The objective for this game is to go into said time machine. So basically it's like the hub world, basically, is this time machine. And it has 5 different branches that you go into. So you go to one branch, you go through 5 levels and try to collect a crystal, a gem, sometimes 2. But usually there are mostly clear colored gems, but there are also colored ones that you find that will help you find other gems. Like you can go back to previous levels and use those gems to go through areas that you couldn't before to get other gems. And then at the end of each hub world that you go through, there's a boss fight. Once you defeat the boss, you get a power up that will help you throughout the game. So like you get a double jump, you get shoes that help you run faster. You get things like one of Crash's abilities is you jump up and he slams his entire body on the ground that helps you break objects that you couldn't before. Well, you get like a powered up version of that. So that adds cool little layers to the Crash Bandicoot experience.
Yeah, because I never played anything other than the first one. I played the first one back then because I had a roommate who had the original PlayStation. This was around 97 or 98. And played the first game, but I never played anything beyond that. I think the only other PlayStation games I really played were like, of course, Resident Evil 2, the Twisted Metal, those games, things like that. I didn't really get too far into the later games of the original PlayStation.
Well, and I think, because at the time when I was introduced to Crash Bandicoot, I was hardcore into Mario, Sonic, like those mascot type characters.
Yeah.
And Crash was more similar to Mario than it was to Sonic, but it was different enough that I didn't feel like I was playing a knockoff of a Mario game.
Yeah.
So that's why, like, I would put Crash still beneath Mario and Sonic as far as like my enjoyment, as well as just when it comes to video game character standings in history. Like to me, Mario is in a tier all his own.
Well, it wasn't for
Eh,
lack of trying, because
yeah,
this was around the time they were doing those hardcore, like, making fun of Nintendo commercials.
yeah, yeah. They definitely tried, but I do feel like the Crash Bandicoot games, though those original three, uh, are still pretty fun to go back and play, and I it's reminds me of probably my favorite era in gaming was the late 90s, early 2000s. Like that Super Nintendo into the PlayStation and N64 era is, a time that I cherish. Like that's the era I think of when I think of video games.
Yeah.
But kind of going back to Crash Bandicoot Warped, another cool thing about this game specifically, and they dabbled into it a little bit with the second one, but in the first game, you pretty much just start at a starting point of a level, and your objective is to make it to the end while breaking all the crates that are in that world. In this one, you don't just run through levels. Like there's a nice variety of levels. Like you have some that are set in medieval times, some that are set in the prehistoric era, some that are futuristic, some that are in like in Asia, Japan, the Ice Ages. So there's a cool variety of setting, but you also can go through levels in different ways. So there are some where you actually, like, say, ride a motorcycle and you have to race these carts. So it's almost like a little bit of a Mario Kart twist. And the way you get the crystal is you have to come in first place.
Yeah.
There's also ones where you play as Crash Bandicoot's sister, Coco, where she rides a tiger from one point to another. She also there's jet ski levels as well, where she rides a jet ski and you have to break the crates and find the crystals. Usually they're around like an island type setting. So that and also you also fly a plane at specific points, I believe, in this game as well. So uh, cool little mix up of objectives and ways to get the crystals. So this one, going back and playing it, because I hadn't played the third one in a long time, I had a lot of fun going back and playing this. Like it was much better than I remembered.
So, was this a remaster that you played or anything? Didn't they remaster all these games just recently?
So they released the Insane Trilogy originally for the PlayStation, I think in 2017,
Okay.
and they released it for the Switch in 18 or 19, I can't remember. But I did kind of a mix of both. Like I did play, because I have a copy of all three of the original games along with a PS2. I played a little bit on the original PlayStation, but for the most part, I did play through the remastered version.
Okay.
But I mean, the game itself is practically the same. It's just
Yeah.
the graphics are just
Well, this
worlds better. Like God, the third game looks so much better than the first one,
Yeah.
because that first one, and I remember talking about it when I reviewed the first one. It was rough to go back and play.
Yeah. Well,
'Cause it
even
looked
still, I
bad.
mean, this was Naughty Dog. Like, this was top of the line at the time. Even though it looks bad to us now, this was the best that those
Yep.
graphics looked at the time.
Absolutely. And it didn't, this game specifically, it didn't deter me too much. I more so played the remastered version because of the convenience of just playing it on the Switch. I can sit on my couch, I can lay in my bed
Yeah.
and play essentially the same game. So that's ultimately why I made that decision. But either way, I I had a lot of fun going back and playing this, and I've played the new one because there is a true Crash Bandicoot 4 that's out now called It's About Time, which I know we've talked about a little bit. I I've played it a little bit, not enough to do a review on it, but it is a game that I'm going to review whenever I do complete it. Even though it's not technically a retro game, it's a continuation of a retro series. So
Yeah.
I feel like that warrants it. But really fun game. As I mentioned, I like the variety of settings. I like the new characters. Some of the new villains were pretty cool. Um, I thought the voice acting was actually pretty good for a game of that type and of that era.
Yeah.
It was fun to go back and play.
Well, I would definitely say if you're if you're curious and you never got to play games from this era, say you were a little bit too young or whatever, I would definitely say these are the games to go back and play, especially like with the remastered versions of everything. Because like I said, this was the best at the time. I mean, even though this was young Naughty Dog, these are the people that went on to make Uncharted. So they have a long pedigree of making really good looking games and good playing games. And I still remember even back in the day, even though it was hard, Crash Bandicoot was still a fun game to play. And like I was playing Uncharted 4, and in Uncharted 4 you go back and you actually play the original Crash Bandicoot. I was like, man, this takes me back. Like, this was a lot of fun back in the day to play.
Yeah, I haven't played that Uncharted game, but I've watched the YouTube clip of that, and I thought it was really cool that they did that.
Yeah. Complete shout out to like their younger selves. Like, this is where we started. This is where we are now. And that was really cool.
It's really cool to have seen the evolution of that company.
Oh, yeah.
From where they came from to where they are now is incredible.
I'm just wondering what they're working on now, because they're not doing any more Uncharted that I know of. What are they working on?
Who knows?
I don't know. They haven't announced anything. Like, I'm just really like, what are you guys doing? Because Uncharted's great. If you've never played the Uncharted series, that's worth getting a PlayStation alone just to go back and play all the old Uncharted games.
Yeah. So I'm trying to remember what score I gave Crash Bandicoot 2, because it's been a while since I reviewed it.
I'm pretty sure it was high.
Yeah, I would put this like maybe half a point below Crash Bandicoot 2. And part of that I think has to deal with, like, 2 was the first one that I played, but I also I like the storyline as well as the level design more in that game. So I'd give this game probably a solid 8.
Yeah. Okay.
Like, it's a really fun game, and for those who might be skeptical on the Crash Bandicoot series, I think the remastered trilogy is worth it for games 2 and 3 alone.
Yeah.
And it even makes 1 more enjoyable. So I would recommend, if you want to play Crash Bandicoot, definitely get the remastered version.
Yeah, always get the remastered version.
Yeah. But yeah, I had a lot of fun going back and playing Crash Bandicoot Warped again.
I still have to go back and play these. As soon as I get some time, I'm going to get that Insane Trilogy and go back and play. Because I'm interested in playing 2 and 3, especially after you reviewed 2. It's like, man, I really need to go back and play it, because I never played it. I played the first one, and that was it.
Yeah, no, they're good games. I think you'd like them.
Yeah. Next week, I am finally, after a month and a half of teasing it, I'm finally going to review Lost Vikings.
Yes.
Yeah. And I tried to play and stream the original Final Fantasy for the NES, and I told everyone on Discord I'm throwing in the towel because I can't. I don't have the will to keep going. There's way too much grinding. There's way too many random encounters. I don't know what to do or where to go, so I'm not giving up on Final Fantasy. I really want to give it a shot. So I told everybody in our Discord to please point me in the direction of a Final Fantasy game that is not centered around grinding or random encounters, and I will play it. So I got a couple of suggestions in our Discord, so I'm going to look into it, and I'm going to play a Final Fantasy game. But as far as the original NES one, if you're into that kind of gameplay, like, I enjoyed the original Dragon Warrior when I was a kid, because of course I got it for free when I, renewed my subscription to Nintendo Power, and they gave you a strategy walkthrough guide with it. So, all you had to do was read the guide, and that took you through the whole game. So I was okay with that game, and the random encounters and all that kind of stuff. But man, trying to play Final Fantasy for the NES is just not my thing. So I'm not even gonna like my mini review is if you're into that, it's all yours. You can have mine. I don't want it. I don't want to play it. I'm done.
But I give you credit for trying.
I really did try. I gave that game about 3.5 hours of my time until I finally I just had to throw in the towel. I couldn't do it anymore. This is not my speed, not my type of game. I can't do it anymore.
Yeah, I mean, I've never played the original one, so I can't really comment on that. I mean, the ones I have played have been pretty good. I've played Final Fantasy 3, which I believe I reviewed some time ago.
And you did what was the one, Mystic or something like that?
Mystic Quest.
Mystic Quest, yeah.
Yep. So they're not bad. I can't get into them like so many other people have.
Yeah, there's like 700 Final Fantasy games. There's got to be one that I can tolerate. There has to be. Statistically speaking, there has to be one that I can tolerate. And, I know we make fun of Final Fantasy here on the show. We mostly do it just to rile up people. I really don't have any hatred for Final Fantasy. I make fun of its number convention, but it's one of those franchises. I just can't get into it. It's not if it's your thing, hey, more power to you. But I'll give it a try. I gave the first one I really did give it a try. But if there's one out there you think I might be able to latch onto, please suggest it. Because I would love to play one that I could really get into. But man, you give me something with grinding and especially just the random encounters alone, I'm out. I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
But that's all I got to say about Final Fantasy.
I get it, though. I totally get it.
Yeah, so next week is Lost Vikings, and I got a couple other games in the pipe that I've been playing that I'm going to review. I downloaded a really cool retro-style game for the Switch that just dropped. And don't want to say the name of it yet, but I'm going to try to get a hold of the company, see if they'll give me a couple of codes to give away. Because this game, I've been playing it the last couple nights. It's what Legend of Zelda 2 should have been. So, yeah. I'll let you know after the show. I'll let you know.
You have my attention, sir.
Yes, but that's gonna do it for this week. Anything you want to? What's up with the Derek Diamond Experience before we leave tonight?
Yes, so Derek Diamond Experience is back this week. I actually have a pretty jam-packed show. Did monthly top 5 list. This month is top 5 movies from the 2000s, which I had several people tell me that this was the hardest list I've ever put out.
I think so, because I couldn't really think of anything. But then once I started thinking of movies, I was like, oh, I forgot about this movie. Oh, this movie too. And then like next thing I know, I've got like 15 movies that I love from the 2000s. I really didn't think there were too many that I liked from like 2000 to 2010. But when you really go back and look, there were a lot of good movies.
Oh yeah, and ranging from like the comic book movies alone.
Yeah.
And then you throw in, the great comedies from especially the early 2000s.
I know, like there were movies like I didn't even add to my list, but like Anchorman is still like one of my favorite comedies of all time.
Yeah, Anchorman was on mine. Like that was one I remember the first time I watched it. There were moments I was laughing so hard I couldn't breathe.
I mean, we used to quote that movie to each other like back in the mid 2000s, like when I worked at like restaurants and stuff. That we would just quote that movie at one another. Everybody would just quote it all day, every day.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, you had to. But I also chat with actress and producer Sarah Randall Hunt about her new web series, Stupid Cupid. And she actually gives a really nice in-depth look at the business side of film that I don't think is really talked about all that much. So it's pretty informative chat. And then funny enough, so I had recorded everything for the show and had it set to upload. And then the trailer for No Way Home dropped. And I was like, do I wait a week or do I re-record the outro? So I re-recorded the outro. So the show will end with me giving my breakdown of the No Way Home trailer, which
awesome.
Man, I don't know. There's not going to be a whole lot that I'm going to have to live for after that movie comes out. If
No
what I think
kidding.
happens.
I mean, Shang-Chi comes out like next month.
Yeah,
Ghostbusters.
couple of weeks.
Ghostbusters drops in
November.
early November. We got Spider-Man coming out in December. Dude, like the movie. I just watched Suicide Squad the other day. Finally got to watch the Suicide Squad. Dude, it's literally up there probably in. I've seen it once, and it's already one of my favorite movies of all time. Like, hands down.
It's they made the right decision by getting James Gunn to make that movie, because I don't think anyone else could have done it that way but him.
When it comes to an ensemble movie, comic book movie, he's your dude. Because he just adds.
They should get him to do X-Men.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. Like, that's a no-brainer. That is a no-brainer.
Just give him, like, I know he said he wasn't going to do any more Marvel movies after Guardians 3, but if I'm Marvel, I just drive the bank truck to his house and be like, here, please do X-Men.
Yeah, just drive the Brinks truck up to his house and just open the back door and just start shoving money out into his front yard and be like, please do our X-Men movie for us.
So, yeah, pretty jam-packed show on the Derek Diamond Experience this week. And if you want to follow me on social media, I'm on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at The Diamond Podcast.
And on Open Micers, my other podcast, Open Micers, last week we talked to Ryan Niemiller, who you might know from America's Got Talent. We talked to him last week. He's known as, he calls himself the Cripple Threat, at Cripple Threat on Twitter. Go follow him. Go listen to the show. Awesome dude to talk to.
He was great, by the way.
Yeah, and this week we just finished an episode earlier tonight with Sean Finnerty, who you might have seen on The Tonight Show. And so go check out those episodes at Open Micers on Twitter, Open Micers Podcast on Facebook, and also Instagram at Open Micers. So go check out the Derek Diamond Experience and Open Micers. There's so much content that can't even shake a stick at it. I mean, you could, but why would you want to?
Yeah, you don't want to do that.
So anyway, anything else before we leave tonight?
No, just it's good to be back.
It's like I don't want to leave now that I got you here. Like
Afraid I'll never come back.
We got to make up for the last, month and a half of no show with you.
Yeah, no, it's after 2 weeks from tonight, we'll be back rocking and rolling to normal. So
having Derek back is like putting on an old pair of underwear.
The sad thing is, I've been compared to worse.
And on that note, let's go ahead and get out of here. If you'd like to email us at nerdcaveretro@gmail.com. Wally's going to hit me for that one. Facebook.com/nerdcaveretro. Instagram and Twitter at nerdcaveretro, and individually at jfunktastic and at Derek_Diamond. You can get it merch at ncrmerch.com. We got some really cool t-shirts and mugs and masks and computer bags and wall tapestries over there at ncrmerch.com. Go check it out. Go support us at patreon.com/nerdcaveretro, where we keep the lights on because of Patreon, and we do those extra episodes, extra commentary episodes every month. If you can't do that, can't support us, I understand. Times are tough. Leave a review wherever fine podcasts are given away for free. So Derek, please tell them what it's all about.
May the way of the hero lead to the Triforce.
Oh, he said it.
Hey, up yours with a twirling lawnmower.
Awesome.
That was fun.
That felt good. It
did.
Good. It's nice to get falling back in the saddle.
Didn't have too much podcasting rust, so
Yeah,
that was good.
Good.
Yeah.
Thank you everybody for watching on Twitch and for watching on YouTube, and we'll be back next week. So you guys have a wonderful week, and we will see you next time.